Yu-Gi-Oh! Theory, how monster spirits are manufactured. I think that's how it's pronounced, right? I hope it is. Let's watch.
Hello there, Internet! Today, we're going to be talking about magic and trading cards and how to use magic in order to make some trading cards. If you've ever watched Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, I'm familiar.
I'm
familiar with
the show's
Yu-Gi-Oh!
famous trading card game, Duel Monsters, is derived from the mystical shadow games played in ancient Egypt thousands of years ago. Back then, Egyptian sorcerers discovered that each human soul on Earth could house a spirit creature, which they referred to as a Ka. These Ka creatures could be magically bound and controlled, which the priests of the pharaoh's court did using the 7 Millennium items to imprison them away within stone ceiling tablets. From there, the spirits could be called forth to do the bidding of whomever summoned them.
Sounds like fairly simple. I know it's a little like weird, but it's simple. So yeah, everything makes sense now.
Flash forward several thousand years, and archaeologist slash gamer fop Maximilian Pegasus discovered the archaeological remains of these shadow games, including the Millennium Eye, an arcane totem that could be used to channel the dark power of the games in the modern day. Being the industrious sort, Pegasus used the Eye and his big nerd energy to produce and mass market the Duel Monsters trading card game. The game became a worldwide phenomenon, and soon players all over the world were trading and playing with cards depicting very real creatures and spirits that had been bound and imprisoned centuries before they were born. And this
I am still not sure. What I'm like curious about is in GX they show like booster packs, right? That the players buy booster packs, and there is a lot of people that can have the same cards, right? There can be repeat stuff. So that's where it gets weird, right? Because some cards have like so is there more Oyamas, for example? Like more spirits and stuff like that? I don't know. How does that work? Yeah.
Shouldn't be a big deal, right? Art imitating life is nothing new, and who cares if the cards depict ancient spirits that are long gone and haven't walked the earth in a few millennia? But, as we all know, those spirits are far from gone. Despite most onlookers believing that duelists play using little more than lifelike holograms, the monster spirits in a shadow game are the physical manifestations of those monsters that Egyptian priests bound in stone before the Common Era. But
not every card in GX has an actual ghost in them. I mean, yeah, I know, but like, like why some and some do and why others don't? Hello, Phoenix. Let's see.
But where did newer cards come from? Assuming that the 1,424 cards released during the Duel Monsters era of the show were all derived from Egyptian monsters, spells, and rituals, how did the world go on to create newer monsters and even newer summoning methods? After all, Pegasus lost the Millennium Eye at the end of the Duelist Kingdom arc.
He didn't die
in the
like
manga, he lost his life right alongside it, meaning that his Industrial Illusions Corporation couldn't have been manufacturing cards the same way as before. But we do know that newer cards like the Elemental and Destiny heroes from GX and all the Synchro, Xyz, Pendulum, and Link cards from 5D's Zexal, Arc 5, and Brains are still dangerously capable of participating in shadow games or similar style duels. So how's that work?
That's what I'm saying, right? How is there different copies? That's what was said in the chat, right, Francisco? And Clear Kaiba had 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons and is unknown if all of them are related to Kisara. Yeah. So I doubt that this is gonna be explained. It's explained in the anime. So, but we have a theory. So let's see.
Well, I think that there are a couple of different answers. In the Duel Monsters anime, we know that some cards that have been printed originated in ancient Atlantis, thousands of years before the Egyptians even became aware of the Shadow Games. Plus, 5Ds shows us that the 5 Signer Dragons and the Crimson Dragon were active in South America around the same time that the Pharaoh and his court first started binding monster spirits, to say nothing of the Aesir god cards used by Team Ragnarok, which are clearly inspired by real-world Norse mythology. And of course, Zexal shows us that many of the Xyz monsters that play a role in that show existed before modern times as well. And, shameless self-plug, I did a whole video on the civilization
we watched that.
The Sacred Beast cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Link to that down below in the description. But even if we know where certain spirits like the Sacred Beasts or the Signer Dragons originated, that doesn't tell us how they were turned into trading cards without something like the Millennium items to pull the spirits from a tablet or summon it from another dimension. And where do decidedly not ancient monsters like machines and cybers cards even come from? Well, we do know that creating new cards is something of an involved process. During Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, we learned that the Neospatians were created when the Kaiba Corporation put them on a rocket and accidentally energized them by sending them into Neospace. Later in that same show, Aster Phoenix and his manager discuss how much money went into the research and development process to create the final Destiny hero card, Destiny and Dragoon.
There was one... Yeah, okay. No, the one that surprised me the most was the Rainbow Dragon. With the Rainbow Dragon, they had to find the actual old thing, right? And then and then Pegasus went with his equipment to make it there, and it was like also kind of weird. And it was like, wait, I understand that the card was needed for to get energy and stuff, right? They needed like energy to power like the machine to unite the different dimensions or whatever. I don't remember. Something like that.
In Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, the Leo Corporation spends a fortune trying to figure out how to properly develop their own pendulum cards, which we see has some pretty mixed results as their first generation prototypes glitch out and malfunction during Declan Akaba's duel against Yuya Sakaki. And of course, this channel's already done a whole college class on how Seto Kaiba and Yusei Fudo developed Synchro and Xyz cards respectively. Link to those down in the description as well.
Okay,
and
we need to watch those
my
two.
last plug for this video, I promise. But what are these companies researching and developing? What is the actual process for creating a new dual monster spirit? Well, I think our biggest clues come from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's Arc 5 and Vrains.
Oh,
As
okay,
we've
we're
discussed on
getting
this
there.
channel many times, cards are just forms of energy that are expressed in different ways. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds converts synchro summoning energy into electricity using the momentum system. The Leo Corporation in Arc 5 plays Big Brother and tracks duelists by monitoring the standard fusion, synchro, Xyz, and pendulum energy that their duel discs generate when dueling. This indicates that the power of the Shadow Games, what we'd call magic, is a measurable and quantifiable phenomenon.
Yeah,
Then,
it's
in
energy,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
right?
Vrains, Playmaker is able to generate new cards inside the Link Vrains simulation by using his AI partner, I, to perform an ability known as Storm Access. Essentially, the simulation is full of these roaming tornadoes of discarded computer data, and by working with an artificial intelligence unit, Playmaker harnesses this discarded data and cobbles it together into a brand new, never-before-seen monster. The Storm Access ability suggests that Duel Monsters cards are, at their core, computer programs, compiled data packages that perform specific functions within a compatible system. In essence, they're nothing more than a series of ones and zeros that need to be energized to be brought to life. And we see this throughout the franchise. From as early as Duel Monsters, we see that cards have to interface with electronic devices in order to work. We see circuits light up when the earliest duel arenas read a card that's just been played. And that would suggest that in Yu-Gi-Oh!, ephemeral things like souls and monster spirits are capable of being digitized. How else would a non-corporeal being like the Spirit of the Millennium Puzzle be able to enter virtual reality on not one, but two separate occasions?
Okay, that is very interesting. Like, I like the idea of, like, in this world, they just can quantify and make, like interact with the souls with technology, right? With souls and spirits with technology. That makes sense, I guess.
Pegasus was using the Millennium Eye to convert magic into digital information. And if you don't believe me, just look at the show's second episode. He sends Yugi a VHS tape, an analog data storage device that's used to play back digital content. But as we all know, the tape contains a powerful avatar of Pegasus himself, one that can think and reason and interact with the outside world. But why a videotape? Why not some other object that we'd think of as being more magical, like a mirror or a special card or something like that? Because a videotape stores digital information. Converting digital information into an analog format like a tape has been a practice since the 1950s, and today, one of the most reliable forms of storage for digital data is converting it into long-lasting tape-based cartridges. This is because the data is inert, not requiring any electronic storage components that could fail or short-circuit. The tape is harmless when it's being transported in the mail, and even when Yugi takes it out of the box, but as soon as it's inserted into a VCR, That's what a VHS player was called in the 90s for all of my younger viewers. The heads on the machine begin to play back the digital information stored on the magnetic tape inside of the cassette,
so that's
activating the curse that Pegasus laid on the tape
where
with
the
his
magic starts. I don't know how to say it.
Can't be directly edited or manipulated, short of simply overwriting it. The real magic, pun only sort of intended, happens when the data is converted to fully digital storage. Then it exists as a duplicatable and, more importantly, editable file. For example, take a monster like the Dark Magician. Draw it.
Are we gonna see like how this is replicated? Is that how it works? You can just replicate it, right? Because it's digital. I guess. You can just make a copy of it. Right? It shouldn't be hard. We also have stuff like microchips just being rune megacraft using gold, silicon, and other materials to make a literal rune. I get what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of like magic, yeah.
Out of its stone tablet and convert it into ones and zeros. Now you can store that data on a magnetic strip or a chip embedded inside of a playing card, the same way that data is stored on a credit card. And boom, Yugi now has his iconic ace monster. But you can.
I know this is from the 90s, but they have like different type of technology, and I'm pretty sure like discs were a thing, right, in the 90s, or were they not? I don't remember. Not like I was there or something.
Also reverse engineer that computer code. Figure out what parts of it account for various aspects of the Dark Magician, and then you have the ability to edit that monster. Simple edits might be nothing more than a reskin, changing up the design and giving it a slightly different appearance, like Arcana's Red Dark Magician.
Well, that's the explanation.
Fundamentally, it's the same monster, but with a visual overhaul. But of course, there's so much more potential for what they could do with this sort of technology. You could segment off individual parts of the data, giving us cards like Magician's Robe, Magician's Rod, and Magician's Souls. Once Pegasus converted the hundreds of monsters in Egyptian tablets and all the spells that his Millennium Eye could perform into a digital format, his computer engineers would have had a tremendous amount of data to study. By sifting that data, it would be possible to rearrange it or expand on it in order to create entirely new effects and abilities. You could take that Dark Magician and modify it by using data derived from different cards until you have a full-on retrain like the Dark Magician, Magician of Black Magic, or combine it.
Okay, but this wasn't in the anime,
until you have
right?
a modern fusion like the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. The thousands of monster spirits, spells, and traps that were developed in the modern day are just new computer programs, iterated and derived from all those that originated in ancient times.
Kinda was?
And while
What?
the developers only ever meant for them to act as NPCs in a holographic video game system, the same shadow magic that gave their forebearers life in the past is just as capable of activating the programs contained within a new card.
This existed, but
So
when
when a
they weren't
character like
that used,
Jaden
yeah.
Yugi uses his elemental heroes
Guess
in a
so.
duel of darkness, those heroes suddenly become more than just programs. A new form of artificial intelligence, no longer animated by technology,
Hi, Kobayashi.
but instead by magic. But really, what is magic if not an advanced form of technology?
Oh
In
yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, the solid
I've heard
vision
that
technology
before.
that Seto Kaiba originally developed back in Duel Monsters has evolved to the point where professional duelists utilize the Arc system to deploy solid vision with mass holograms. The technology has gotten so good that, like a shadow game, the monsters actually manifest on the field and can physically interact with the players, to the point that Yuya Sakaki routinely rides atop his monsters when they go into battle. As Duel Monsters technology progressed, it became indistinguishable to the shadow games themselves, to the point that artificially created monsters were able to merge with a natural-born human being in order to create a monstrosity that brought about the end of the world, just as the Pharaoh had feared thousands of years before. Thus, it stands to reason that the shadow games and Duel Monsters act as proof of science fiction author and futurist Arthur C. Clarke's third law, that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Okay, I like that.
But what do you think about how the world went on creating?
No, I
cards
agree,
without
I agree,
belonging
I agree. That makes perfect
Is this
sense.
really how they did it, or is there some other form of magic or technology behind it? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe bell thing so I don't feel so alone when I go to sleep tonight. I've got another theory that I'm cooking up on the origins of pendulum summoning, so I need to get back to the editor's cave to work on that. But I will catch you in the next video. Bye!
That was really good. That was really good. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I like that a lot. I like this theory. I mean, it makes sense, right? I still don't know exactly how cards like appear out of nowhere. You know what I mean? How like I don't know. Do you think like Jaden actually had all those fusions? It kind of seems like all those fusions like came out of nowhere. Like, where did the card that was a fusion between Neos and Rainbow Dragon appear? Right, Rainbow Neos, right? Because we just saw how Rainbow Dragon was created. When was that card created? Does it just like was it like magic? It just yeah, I guess it was magic because it happened during the when they were in a different dimension and stuff. But I don't know. I wish like there was more explanation for that. It was made during that duel. Was it? And then it just stays like physically there. That's what is weird. Because we just saw like it requires a lot of things make a card, right? Because it's technology, it requires a lot of effort. So a card that is like that powerful will be like that, right? Doesn't he use a super poly to fusion it? I don't think so. Does he? I think he does, right? I think he does. And I guess super poly could do anything. Okay, but that was an example. I don't remember. All right, chat. I'm showing that I'm a fake fan, and I don't remember honestly. I'm sure someone will explain in the comments, and I will probably have a better formulated question for next time. Super Poly was used and it's just built better. Yeah, I guess so. Well, didn't he just fuse the cards together and they made a card from that? Yeah. All right, thank you everyone. Thank you for the recommendation, and yeah, a lot of people were talking about it, so I'm glad I know now what you were talking about. So yeah.